Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of your weekly dose of Terraform. My name is Anton Babenka, and today we have pretty special episode. Today the main topic will be the tool which many people who use Terraform actually use. Well, you may not know that you've been using it, but at some point you probably saw a project called terraform-docs. And today we have Khosrow, who will join me just in a few minutes, and he is lead developer of this project, and we will talk about different things related to the tool, how it was developed, maybe why it was developed in first place. And if you have any questions related to the tool or related to the process of documenting Terraform code, don't hesitate to leave a question in chat, and I will make sure to raise this question. So let's get started. The first thing is, of course, is env0. Well, it's actually not first thing, but it's since we start from zero, it's zero. So env0 is a company who's supported me for quite some time, and they allow people to run Terraform and terragram workflows, and they do this quite differently. So if you have pull request, for example, you may run it. Well, my computer just froze right now. Okay, here is it. So you can run it on pull request, you can see comments back, you can apply on merge, and many other cool things. So if you are into this, you can look into, if you are into Terraform and CI/CD and putting Terraform in pipeline, you have to take a look into env0.com/Anton. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. Also, I want to make a little bit kind of shameless plug. During the last couple days, I was wrapping up Terraform AWS pricing module, which I have just released like yesterday. Well, I didn't even release, I just committed to GitHub. It's almost there. The point of this module is that you give your Terraform state or Terraform plan, and it will tell you how much it actually costs. So this means that you have plenty of different options how to do this, and it's all open source. You don't have any third-party dependencies unless you really want. And I think I will finish it quite soon, but during next episode or next week, episode 29th of January, I will actually go through it and add some more things and maybe finish it completely, because I think it's really cool to be able to know how much it costs. The code for this module was a little bit too complicated, but it's all open source, and you can take a look into it, and you can try to figure out why it's written like this. Anyway, I will explain it next week. This week we have, as I said, Khosrow. Let me check my short agenda for what I have to cover. Well, that's actually it. There are no other things related to this stream which I have to mention. So let's get started with terraform-docs first. Okay, I will bring Khosrow in a minute. Just before that, I want to show what exactly terraform-docs like from user perspective. Okay. So terraform-docs is an open source project which aims to help with generation of documentation from Terraform modules in various output formats. Well, that's pretty cool, I would say. But let's see it in action. Okay, here is how it looks in action. As you can see, I have code inside of my terraform-docs directory where I have some Terraform files, I have README file, and I have pre-commit config file. I'm showing how I'm using it. If you don't use automation, or if you have different other tools, that's totally fine. I just want to show you like 101 of what is it. So you have some Terraform code written in TF files. For example, you write some resource creation. This is real module. Then you describe some outputs, you describe some variables, and now you want to automatically generate documentation for inputs, outputs, and providers, right? So what you can do is that here, I'll just remove it for now. So if I have this README file and I have these markers beginning and end, and then I do some changes in this code. So what I have to do now is that I can just do git commit, or I can just first git add, and then I can do git commit, and it will trigger pre-commit hooks, and then these hooks, which I configured in this file, as you can see, it's using this repository, and it's using two hooks to make sure that formatting is correct and to update documentation. As you can see, documentation now is absent. So what I have to do here is that I can run pre-commit run -a to specify that I want to process all files, not just those which were changed. So, and if I run this command, then pre-commit execute in terraform fmt. There is nothing to do because code was already formatted. And as you can see, terraform-docs says that it's failed. Well, it says that it's failed because it has updated files. And that's what we want to do. So now if we look into source of README file, we can see that it's actually populated requirements, providers, inputs, and outputs. So that's pretty much what we wanted to have. So now if we do git commit and then just say like my module, then we will commit this file and everything else. So in essence, that's how we use terraform-doc, but without invoking it. Pre-commit hooks are actually doing much more than just calling one CLI, but as a user, you don't have to really know what is actually happening. So from my side, that's pretty much it. I wrote code, I have some documentation. This documentation is automatically generated from updates, and that's it. So now let's do a little bit more. Let's bring the developer. Well, let's see how to do this. I think I have to click somewhere here, and maybe here, and unmute. Hello, Khosrow. We can hear you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Everything fine? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on the show.
So let's talk about what's going on. So to begin with, can you tell everyone like what are you doing? How did you end up with Terraform, or what's your relation with Terraform? Where do you work?
Yeah, sure. My name is Khosrow Moossavi. As I mentioned, I'm the lead developer and main contributor to terraform-docs. I'm currently a senior DevOps engineer at Mattermost. And so I've been using Terraform since a couple of years now. And the very first time I was involved with Terraform Docs with when was that we discovered that okay, that's a really cool tool, but we saw an opportunity to enhance it. Our documentation at the time was written by hand, and we were following what currently now is a markdown document format, and it was missing at the point. The only format that was supported back then was markdown table, and so I jumped over the project and implemented the markdown document format. And that was the very first time I was involved in the project, and this was back in 2018, I think. And I kind of stayed with the project.
Well, yeah.
And I should mention that the project was originally implemented by Segment company, and we were a collaborator on the project, but they were handed over to community a little while ago. So we now have our own organization on GitHub under Terraform Docs.
Yeah, we'll talk about this organization in a bit. So since you mentioned that you started working from 2018, I cannot skip an opportunity of telling how complicated was HCL2. and I remember that there were few people who said like, yeah, Terraform 2 is released, but not many tools are compatible. And if I now look into changelog of terraform-docs, I remember that you guys added support for HCL2 parsing pretty long time after, right? It's like half year after HCL2 was already a thing. So yeah, that's good work on
Yeah,
adding.
yeah, it was a huge effort because of the fact that from the HCL1 to HCL2, essentially the inner mechanic of Terraform itself has changed drastically, and at the time we were currently actually it is like that. We depend on another HashiCorp project, Terraform config inspect, which actually does the heavy lifting for us. So we tap into that. That is the project that actually goes and reads and understands the HCL format to extract all the pieces of information. Then we parse through it. The problem was to be able to support HCL2 and Terraform O12. Uh, the it was required a lot of change on our side, and it was one of the contributors which I unfortunately I don't remember their name, but it was all on their side. It was a huge effort on their side. It was a really huge PR to go through, and eventually we were able to land it.
Yeah, that's typical. That
Mm.
pull request was pretty long, I remember. So the hack which we implemented in pre-commit hook was to use was to pretend that HCL2 is actually HCL1. So we wrap everything with double quotes, and then it was just a strange type. So yeah, we did it a long time ago for the reason that Terraform doc didn't have support. But okay, so HCL2,
Sorry to interrupt. I should really give credit to. So it was Thomas Alton. Shout out to you. It was a really big effort on your side.
yeah, cool, cool. So thanks, Thomas. I don't think I know you, but anyway, thanks. I know that there was also Martin Etma here at around that time, so or maybe he was a little bit earlier. Matt Macher. So hello, Matt. Hello, Martin. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, he was the main contributor and maintainer before I joined. So essentially, segment handed over to Martin, and I started helping Martin. But yeah, he has been. He has been getting a lot of work on his plate, so he's not really involved that much in the project nowadays. But he's still really there helping.
Yeah. So what you are saying is that there are no bugs, no issues, right? Everything is fixed.
Yes. Isn't that how every software works?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I say to AWS is please stop releasing new services because we have not covered everything what has been released before. Please give us some break for like half year, 1 year. We will let you know. Uh, so yeah. Okay, okay. Let's move on to talk about some of your experience actually developing it. So we talk about HCL1, which we had, and it was limiting, and it was okay. It was quite straightforward to work with it, and different tools were created. So that was okay. But then we have HCL2, and if you look into current development, can you kind of summarize just briefly into what kind of maybe challenges you have with developing this kind of tool, or what kind of overall experience did you have? Was it easy? Was it fun? Was it boring? Or was it just full of bugs every time?
I would say it was fun and challenging at the same time all around because of the fact that terraform-docs essentially produces a lot of different format outputs, which not necessarily all of them are working nicely together. So whenever you are, for example, escaping a character in one format, you should not escape the same character in other format. For example of that is, for example, underscore. You need to escape it on Markdown, but you should not escape it, for example, in JSON. In JSON, you need to escape the HTML code, but you should not escape it, for example, in YAML format, right? So
Yeah.
I would say whenever we want to add a new feature, the most challenging part is to make it work properly in all the different formats that we have. And the biggest problem is, as I said, is escaping of the different in different formats.
Yeah, I can definitely remember um, like several times when I was using terraform-docs and then I rerun it, and then some of my modules were rewritten because of underscore was escaped suddenly. And I remember these pull requests were like reoccurring from people who are using latest version of terraform-docs, because like if you're using something latest, then you introduce new change, and then people who use oldest version, they say like, hey, why this change was introduced, and you tell them like, hey guys, just upgrade terraform-docs. So yeah, that's a traditional issue with dependencies. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Cool. And now, as I can see that you have been like overall, this project was having several uh, major releases, or major or minor. I still have no clue which one is which, but well, since there is no 1.0 and you've been increasing minor version, I guess you have added or you introduced breaking changes like in 0.10, for example. And when I see these kind of breaking changes, like which you had in 0.10, how do you actually uh, propagate this change across different customers? Because everyone is using latest version. Like I don't know anyone who would pin the version and say like, okay, my project is now using just specific version, right? We all write brew update and we all use latest version. So what I'm trying to say is that when you add break and change without increasing major version, it will make a lot of confusion to people. Uh, I do this myself quite often with modules, and I know that when you introduce break and change like you did in 0.10, it will be it will be a little bit hard for people to work with. Um,
Uh, that is by the core of it. It's true. We worked really hard to not introduce any drastic breaking changes unless we broadcast it properly. So the uh, the format and guideline we try to follow is to announce the change, soft deprecate it in the next release, and then fully deprecate it in the second release after the announcement. So people would have enough time to consider this upcoming breaking change and work around it accordingly.
mm,
But then again, at the same time, as you mentioned, we haven't actually released the V1 version yet. So anything on V.0 is on paper a fair game, but we try not to be so drastic, as I
yeah.
said before. But unfortunately, sometimes breaking changes may be necessary. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see how it goes with Terraform 1.0 later this year. Uh, I'm quite sure that it will have some edges with all releases, but anyway, if we're talking about Terraform docs in particular, do you have any methodology of like how do you prioritize issues or pull requests or what to work on? Since there are not many people who are involved into this, right? I mean, mostly uh, like you and maybe a couple other guys are reviewing some code. Uh, so, how do you actually pick up which out of these 20 or 35 open issues to work on?
Um, so the priority that I tend to follow is basically the following steps of the previous features. For example, if we have worked on some specific thing in the past release, and there is another feature or bug fixes that was announced or requested that is really close to the second to the one that we just released, we try to pick that up and put that in the upcoming release. And as you mentioned, there are not so many people involved in the project, and we have a limited bandwidth on that, so we cannot just have a really frequent releases and to be able to squeeze a lot of features in that releases. So
Yeah.
that is mainly the process that we tend to follow, and based on the community. So if there's a feature or a feature request or bug fixes that is kind of have a lot of upvotes, we tend to work on it as soon as
Mm.
possible.
Yeah, right. Sounds like you don't have like predicted roadmap or any planning, right? So whatever comes, then you evaluate it and you work on it. So yeah, that's
There are some specific item in our roadmap, but it's not really extensive and super long list. The
cool.
kind of wishes that we want to achieve at some point.
Cool, but you don't have any public roadmap where people can see what's in the progress or what are you evaluating, right?
No, that is something that I procrastinated on it a lot of the time. So I should really, some over a weekend or something, just put the roadmap actually on the GitHub.
Yeah, I think it's quite good to just see, not for you, but for other people who are, let's say, looking into this project and they have no clue what's going to be developed. Maybe they can just be involved and help with this themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's. Do you have any specific hot feature request which you think is gonna to be amazing?
Yes, one of the items that we are going to work on soon, maybe in O11 or maybe in O12, we'll see how it goes, is the injection of the produced output directly into README files instead of just looping around with some bash set awk whatever you have. You can just inject directly the output of the terraform docs to some markdown files of your choosing. That is something that we definitely will have sometime soon.
Yeah, this sounds very close to the topic which we will cover in a bit, which is related to auto-generated documentation for the whole Terraform project. But let's talk about current Terraform docs first. So just for like my curiosity, uh, do you have any like any issue or any pull request which you remember as funny or strange or some odd bug? which took you maybe a lot of time, but it seems to be very simple. Uh, I usually like to find these kind of issues in projects.
Um, I don't remember anything off the top of my head, but I do remember the feeling that, as I said earlier, the most difficult time that I had with the project was to try to figure out how to do escaping properly. There's a lot of escaping and white spacing issue that we've encountered along the way that took a lot of time to try to figure out. And we still have one open issue that is not fully resolved, involving a white space issue
Yeah,
at the end of the line, at the end of the file. So those are really hard to fix.
yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, that's that sounds like an interesting project. Do you have any specific request or any wishes how you want community to help with this project? Maybe not with just this project, but let's talk about the whole terraform-docs organization and what is it?
So we moved Terraform-docs to its own organization, specifically to kind of broadcast the intention that this is a standalone project, this is a community-driven project. It has developed by segment and was donated to community, and we specifically wanted to have a home for it,
Mm.
right? And then we would be able to just add on more features along the ecosystem of Terraform-docs. For example, we've recently added the GitHub action for Terraform-docs. We are working on a plugin SDK for Terraform-docs, which are all of them are living in the same organization. That if we hadn't done that, it would have been really hard to communicate the intention. Where would I created that GitHub action? Under my own personal account, under segment organization, under third party organization? This was actually a real world example that one person from the community actually created the GitHub action under his personal account. Then when we created the organization, he donated the GitHub action repository back into the organization that we just created. So that's a consolidated place to have all the things related to Terraform docs as a whole ecosystem, which is nice.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Yeah, I see that more and more tools like TF-Lint and now Terraform Docs, they move to dedicated organization as soon as you start to maintain more than one repository. Because now you have, as you mentioned, 2, 3 more repositories. They can be used very independently. So yeah, that makes sense. Cool. And talking about Terraform Docs, I can see that the last release there was, when was it? September. So yeah, it's like 4 months ago. Uh, is there any release planned, or how things are gonna to be released? Do you have any release cycle for this project? Like, do you release every 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years?
No, unfortunately, we don't have any fixed release cycle plan because, as I said, there is a limited bandwidth. Currently, I'm the only maintainer of the project, and whenever I'm getting help from the community, as of now, we have a bunch of open PR from the community that I'm trying to review and land. So that is kind of a limited capacity from my side, right? That is why that I cannot predict and commit to a fixed cycle of, let's say, 3 months. I try to stick 3 months release cycle, but sometimes
Yeah.
stuff just fell into crack.
Yep. That's reality. Cool. Okay, let's move on to the future of it. I mean, unless you want to add something to the history or to the current situation, uh, I have a few interesting things which were asked by the community, and actually, well, let's bring this awesome comment. What a cool mustache! I just connected. Sorry, I don't know. They like my mustache or your. Well,
Almost as good.
yeah, that's pretty good. So yeah, we have been just talking about how this project was evolving, and from what I can say as a user, I have not committed any code to this repository, or I have not been doing any development to this project. Um, as a user, I see it as a very limited scope. I mean, I have some code in Terraform. I want to run this tool, and I want to have some output. There is not much what this tool specifically can add, like the way it is developed right now, right? So it can process code, and it can return documentation in different formats, and that's pretty much it. So one thing which I really like when you mentioned is that you have some intentions to extend this project or maybe some other projects in this tool chain, which will help with populating README files, but like combining different README files. And this is the question which I have heard from some time. When we have a lot of Terraform files, there is definitely a value to have information about outputs and inputs to the module. But when we run Terraform code, we often want to see a little bit different type of information for the project. So, for example, we want to get information using some macros or some shortcuts. We want to be able to generate documentation for several modules at once, for example. Are there any proposal or any work going on in the direction of like multiple modules invocation?
Uh, in terms of the multiple module invocation, we don't have anything planned and requested, as far as I remember. The only thing that we have some requests from was to be able to consolidate a parent README project from different modules. So let's say you have your parent folder, you have some or non Terraform file in that with a README in it. Then in the same folder, you have multiple module folder defined. So you would use the module definition locally. So each one of the folders have its own README. It's fully populated with input variables, output, provider, and everything. But you don't have any consolidated view of, okay, if I look at the root of the repository, I would like to be able to see that, okay, my whole project is consist of XYZ module, which are defined here, maybe a link to the project README file or something like that.
Mm.
This is something that has been requested, and there's an issue open for it. So people are welcome to just go there and try to add on their feedback on it. The this is the only thing that I can think of at the moment in terms of the consolidation of the all the different modules at the same time.
But what do you think, like on your opinion, uh, is this actually enough with the feature set of Terraform docs? Or in ideal world, if you would have a lot of time, a lot of resources, everything what you can imagine, what kind of extra feature would you add to this project, or maybe to another project? Uh, do you have any specific wish? Again, pretend that you don't need to work and don't need to do anything else, that you have to just spend all your life on this project, for example.
So in terms of the what is missing and what we try to add is one thing that actually we are working on is as I mentioned earlier is a plugin SDK. So you are as a user, as a kind of, I would say maybe a slightly power user, or your organization, you want to extend Terraform docs. You don't necessarily want to depend on Terraform docs marked on table format. Maybe it's not fully based on your organization guideline or whatever however you want to extend it. Is you can write a plugin, you can generate the output of your choosing. You can just reorder sections. You can do whatever you want, and you just create a binary, plug that in, and execute the Terraform docs with that particular plugin. So that is something that kind of opens the door. So if you have some limitation of the Terraform docs, and you in terms of the formatting, and so you have the ability to extend it however you like. So that is kind of that will solve uh, some issues that user might have on that one, but it doesn't necessarily solve for multi-module issue. That is something that that is definitely is missing. There was another request on the similar topic that that whenever you that you have a big module with lots of resources and and a different module interdependency, and the user wanted to have some sort of kind of a website, a fully website, not a single README, consists of all the different resources, modules, the dependency between the module. That is something that eventually what they are doing at the moment, executing Terraform docs multiple times, then when using an extra tooling, bash tooling, set or something like that, just combine everything together and essentially preparing the whole website. That is something that potentially can be incorporated in Terraform docs in some sense of the word if we have some resources.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking about. Going a little bit beyond Terraform modules itself. So right now, it's I think like again from my perspective, from user perspective, Terraform docs on level of the module is 100% complete. I mean, maybe some things
Yes,
here and there,
I
but
agree.
it's there. It's working. It has been working for several years, except HCL2 work, which was adding a lot of new challenges. But again, from user perspective, there is not much what we can do. We have to go a little bit up. And the request which this person you are referring to has is extremely powerful to my mind, because uh, we like at the end of the day, as I like to say, there are two types of users: people who write Terraform modules and people who are using them. People who are
Yes,
using them,
exactly.
they should just check output from Terraform doc, and they figure out, okay, which values they have to put somehow. That's it. But they are usually much more interested in information of another like high level, how this module which I'm using here is connected to another module which I have there, and by the way, I have two regions. So this kind of information, what I see is like, first you process the whole Terraform structure, and then you identify in which nodes you need to execute Terraform docs to get information on low level and connect it somehow and publish as a website. Uh, Sounds like pretty straightforward work, with few exceptions, of course. But yeah, it's definitely interesting work. One thing which I see as a limit here, and I don't actually know how to solve it, to be honest, is currently you are not executing Terraform as such, right? You don't execute Terraform init, Terraform plan, you don't do anything of that. While if you are going to provide information on higher level, you will need to somehow execute code to parse to understand what does for each means, what does several modules means, because now you can create them in a loop or using different ways. So it's a little bit more work to do, and the reason why I
Yeah,
say
that is exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, the thing is that I don't know how to solve it without writing specific like Terraform eval function, where you give a bunch of
Yes.
code and then it executes it without, like in a black box.
Yeah, that is a really good point, and that is exactly what we are trying Terraform docs not to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of it can become bloated in some sense of the word, and we try to kind of follow the Unix philosophy. Terraform docs by its own shouldn't be aware of other tooling around it.
Yep.
For example, that is kind of what we do with generation of the output section. You can you can have a kind of a static output which only specify that okay, this is the name of the output and that's it. The other one you can ask the Terraform docs to show the Terraform sorry the output values.
Mm-hmm.
On that, it's kind of up to the user to generate the Terraform output in the JSON format, then hand it over to Terraform docs. So Terraform docs should not be aware of the external execution of the other tooling.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, so to summarize, it's your point is really valid. We try not to do it in a way that Terraform docs becomes a bottleneck. For example, if we embed Terraform execution into Terraform docs, which version of Terraform should be using? Is it compatible if you're using it on your machine and someone else uses on their machine? Do you have the same Terraform version on your different machines to be able to produce the same outputs for Terraform docs to use?
Well,
But yeah, it's an interesting challenge to solve.
yeah, and hopefully this is not gonna to be gonna to be implemented by Terraform docs, because I'm quite sure that if you do into this, if you go into this task, it will be a very deep rabbit hole. It's just
Yes.
pretty much impossible. I do have some experience with this because I develop some tools in this area related to partial execution of Terraform code, and I can tell you that I don't see the end of this. Like pretty much
Yeah.
when I start thinking about it, it's going deep and deep and deep, and it's going infinitely. Well, yeah, the question, we have actually a few questions from people. Some say hi Anton, some people say hi Khosrow. So yeah, that's pretty good. And Krish Polo asked, does it support terragram too?
No, it does not. So basically, we are only working against the Terraform modules. So whatever you have as a .tf files, Terraform docs would be able to tap into it and generate some output formatting.
Yeah, but you can, if you have created some terragram project and you run terragram in it, then terragram will create a working directory. And if you want, you can tell Terraform docs to generate documentation from sources inside of that directory. because TerraGrant is working with Terraform quite natively. It does not have a lot of hacks around how to pass variables, for example. It has some, but they're not exposed to terraform-docs anyway. So yeah. And by the way, if there are other questions from people, don't hesitate to write message. Okay, let's see, where is it? Can you share some examples? Ulan asked. Well, yeah, that's actually a good point. Let's see. Can you share your screen? Can you show us some examples how things work? I don't know if you can share it, or should we click somewhere?
So unfortunately, I cannot share. I that is funny enough. So I opened this this live stream link in Firefox, and now it complains that I should open it in Chrome to be able to share the screen, which is funny. So maybe you can share your screen and just go to terraform-docs example folder.
Yeah, that's, I can try. Let's see if I
So
go to Chrome, and this is Chrome. Yeah. Well, let me add you to this view somehow. How to add more people here? Add right. Yeah, here you are.
oh, nice.
Well, yeah. Let me move us somewhere here so that we don't occupy the whole space. Just 1 second. If I click here, no. Okay. Anyway, we have this project. So
Can you go to examples folder? Oh, sorry, not the example, the docs folder.
docs, yes.
And formats. So these are all the available formats, and if you click any of them, you will see.
Let's find the hardest one, which is, according to Terraform registry team, is JSON. Yep.
So this will show. This is a format. This is a CLI guide. But if you scroll down a bit more, so it shows all the different flags, and we have an example folder, which all of these examples, as you can see, the output of this example, it has been generated by this command that we are looking at the page of it, based on the example folder. So that will give you a clear example of what the output of any of these command would look like if you execute them against an example folder that we currently have. But if you want to see it live in action, you can just pick any kind of open source Terraform module out there. Terraform AWS modules is being one of the most famous one.
I can.
Yeah, and what you would see on the README of those project is the example of the.
Well, here is it. So if I go clear and if I run terraform-docs JSON for these files here, that's what I have. So I have a lot of things here. So what I really like in this actually is that you're able to work around correctly around null, because null does not mean that it's required. So this is correct, and Terraform registry does not process this correctly. So in Terraform registry, it will tell that all of this stuff is required because it says null. So yeah, I'm really glad that I found this solution today, because I won't be able to fix it. Yeah.
Yeah, we had this specific problem because of the JSON. Because in the JSON, if you the null is a really big problem, specifically in Terraform ecosystem, and to be able to achieve this specific feature, we actually ended up extending Terraform docs and not using Go primitive. We are not using, for example, int. We are using our own int. We are using our own string and so on. So we are extending Go primitives to be able to achieve this specific thing that you just showed on the screen.
Well, that's pretty interesting that you are using something outside of built-in Go because mm, well, I'm also surprised that you have to do this. I mean, why it's not built in Terraform natively? I mean, there are
Um,
concept of null. Um,
no, it's not that Terraform doesn't provide it. We get the information from Terraform config inspect, which reads the module that you have and gives us the structure in Go format. But when we go through it and we want to prepare the output structure to be compatible with all the different formats that we have, JSON, YAML, Markdown, whatever, then to be able to parse it correctly and produce the correct format for different outputs, that is the time and reason that actually we ended up using our own primitive definition,
mm,
because
yeah,
they are being parsed differently, and we have some specific um, JSON marshaller and unmarshaller specifically designed to work with this specific null situation, required true or false situation,
yeah.
and so
That's
on.
that's actually true. That now I run Terraform config inspect for this output, and I can see that they are actually treating null correctly. So name null and required false. The place where it is implemented incorrectly, and that's actually slightly unrelated to the topic which we have, but anyway, just want to show it here. Well, it's DynamoDB table. Mm, here is it. So, well, I need to share another screen, which is this one. So this is the source code. Here it says insert 7 required variables here, and if I go to inputs, I see that it says required inputs as all of these which have null. So they have. So the thing is that Terraform config inspect as well as Terraform-docs does treat null correctly, while registry does not. And there is an open issue, which is almost 1.5 year old, related to fixing this issue. Okay, right. So let's go back.
If you go back to your editor, I would
Yeah.
like to maybe show another one. So in your terminal, execute Terraform docs with HCL, TFR's HCL format. So Terraform docs space
HCL.
TFVARs. No, TFVARs
TFRs. HCL.
without the space. I don't know if without the dash. So TFVARs space the HCL.
Like this. Okay.
Yes. So this is another interesting thing that the end user might be interested to use. So for
Mm.
example, you have your module, and you can on the fly generate the Terraform TF-vars with all the pre-populated data in it. So if there is anything empty, those are considered to be variable. The required variables. So you can execute this on your CI/CD, put it into your pipe it into your TFRs, then pass some environment variables, and then Terraform plugin apply on it. So you don't necessarily need to just create a Terraform TFVars file manually by hand to be able to have all this pre-populated for you. This is another use case that
Yeah.
we've heard people are really interested to use.
Yeah, that's a pretty good thing to be able to generate like a static thing. There is also a project which was, I think it was called like HCLQ at some point, which was command line preprocessor for HCL files, similar like JQ but for HCL. And the thing with that project, or similar, there are several of them, that you can use it. Let's say first you do this as an output and then you pipe it into HCLQ and you actually update content of this one. Like in my case, I have HCL SAD. Yeah, SAD, and then HCL SAD will be able to replace, let's say, to update timeout delete. So I can do something like timeout dot delete like this. So what this will do is that it will just return
Yeah.
this value, something like this. But
For that matter, we have the same format, the same command for TFRs, which outputs a JSON format, so you can just easily use JQ
yeah,
if you prefer.
yeah, I'm actually surprised amount of formats which you guys have implemented. It's a lot. Here is it. So yeah, it's a lot of different format, including pretty. It's pretty. How pretty is it?
It is pretty.
Wow, it's so awesome.
It's designed for CLI use. If so, you are in your terminal, you want to see what does the input and output of your module just look like. Do you want to just quickly look around for something without just looking at the README?
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know why this is not visible. It's probably white on white as a header, right? It should be output here, but it's just invisible on my theme.
No, there's actually just empty line. There was an
Ah, okay.
I don't remember if you have merged it or not, but basically to limit the gap here a bit because it's too wide.
I see.
But yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I can see that this project is having a lot of things, but we are almost out of the time for this episode actually. So what I just want to kind of highlight and maybe ask you at the same time is that like in my experience, this project has been critical for pretty much everyone who wants to give to developers something more than just Terraform code, which somehow works, right? So that's why we need to be able to render something, and then we can see, maybe we can search some things here and there. There are, though, few very critical things which I don't know if terraform-docs is going to solve, or maybe there are other ways to solve. Is the eventual complexity of let me show another example, which is how to use this kind of tool on something big like VPC. VPC has 409 inputs and 288 outputs. Obviously, I cannot scroll through this. So it's just impossible to find what is it. So if there would be a way to somehow modify this output, and that's, as I understand, you have created a plugin SDK, right? So people can maybe group somehow the output or do something around this output by different criteria. This would be really helpful for even wider adoption of this tool. But overall, I know that this project uh, is just yeah, just must have for many situations.
Yeah, this is a really good example that you just pointed out that a plugin for it would be really interesting. So a plugin can be community driven. Maybe someone personally writes the plugin. Maybe they want to donate it back to Terraform Docs for us to maintain it from then on. But yeah, this is by the logic of it, and just referring back to the Unix philosophy that we are trying to follow. This is not the problem that Terraform docs should solve by its own, because it's,
Yeah,
as mentioned, it's one specific problem. Yeah, true. Maybe there might be other resources out there that have couple hundred items in them, inputs in them, but they are not universally required, right?
yeah,
So, but yeah, that is really interesting to see what eventually would be able to do with that.
yeah. And another thing is that Terraform, as we all know, is putting some efforts into complex types. So they are working on different flags which we can put into type. We can put defaults. We can put optional. We can put validation on variables and so on. Uh, I think this should be part of Terraform docs as well, so that people who are using this documentation, I mean, generated by Terraform docs, they should see that, okay, well, if I have any map, if I have map of any, it should at least explain to me what kind of keys are required or optional, and so on. So there is a little bit of work which can be done, but again,
Yeah, definitely.
it's good the way it is right now. Another complex example which I was what is it? No, security group. What is the name of it? Security group slash AWS. This one is just another example. It has 45 inputs, which is not a lot, but it has one auto group with a little bit big default.
Mm.
So this default is a little bit too long. And also, if I would be able to exclude some of these sections, like here is another example of large rules, is map of known security group rules, which again is a little bit too large. So it's just impractical to see all of this and navigate in limited UI. But yeah, mm, I think anyway, this project is must-have. So if anyone who is watching this stream, let's say, didn't use Terraform docs for real, you've been doing something wrong. So I definitely recommend you to look into this project and use it, because it just yeah, it gives you everything what you need on modules level. And as I understand, on higher level, you can achieve using plugins, and on even higher level, good luck with your shell scripts.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good summary.
Yeah. Well, talking about summary, do you have any things which you want to highlight or to tell to everyone?
What I can think of at the moment, just we welcome more contributors. So if people are willing to get their hands dirty, just come see us in Terraform Docs organization in GitHub.
Yeah, that's true. There are 35 issues, and I guess there are a lot of people who are using it. So, and by the way, do you have some information about statistics, like how many people use it, how many people go to this GitHub repository, some installation number.
Uh,
It's usually interesting to know what people are using and how often.
yes, I can give you some statistic in a second. Uh, sorry. Interesting. So I've been using one website to. It was showing the GitHub release statistic, and right now it's down. But as far as I remember, we had about around 200,000 downloads all around between different releases, and in terms of the overall. So we from a couple of releases ago we have introduced the Docker image as well. So the same image, the same binary can be used as a Docker image, and that is kind of has around um, around 100 100 ish pull per day, something like that. So it's constantly being pulled, most probably in some sort of CI/CD
Yeah,
pipeline.
yeah, that's for sure. Well, it's a little bit hard to get even more accurate number because CI/CD also can cache stuff.
Yeah,
And once they cache, you have no clue how many people or how many downloads were there because everything
yeah.
is cached.
But at the same time, if you, for example, people tend to go get from the CI/CD as well, so that actually adds more information
Mm.
to the download, or from the curl install on the CI/CD pipeline. So it's not really accurate, but it gives some idea of that the project is being used actively on a daily basis.
Yeah, and the last thing which I want to kind of say is that whoever wants to have some information out of Terraform, there is no competitive project. So either you have documentation, either you don't have documentation. That's it. I mean, of course, people can write it by hand if they want, but we all know what happens with such documentation, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Good luck writing the VPC example you showed.
yeah, yeah, and well, luckily I was when was it? Yeah, I think when I start using or when I start contributing actively to Terraform AWS modules, there was already a terraform-docs, so I use it pretty much instantly. I still have few projects from about 2015-16 before terraform-docs was a thing, but I don't bother even to read that documentation or update anything there.
Hmm.
Cool. Okay. On this note, I want to thank you very much for your time, for great work on this project, and in general. And well, this was awesome to
Yeah,
have you with us, and thanks
yeah.
again.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good one.